If you've ever poured months into a product build only to see it launch and flop, you're not alone. The truth is, most product launches fail, even with the most brilliant idea, best funding, the best team, because it's not that your people aren't working hard. It's that you're misreading the signals of what your audience wants from you. In this video, I break down what is causing most of these products to flop and how to avoid it by validating real audience demand, not just the noise. Let's fix what's broken in most go-to-market strategies before your next product launch misses the mark. Okay, so the number one reason that 80% of startups don't make it to year 5 is because they don't have product market fit, meaning that the product or the offer that they've created, there's no sustainable demand for that. And so what I see time and time again is founders especially, that they are really excited about an idea and they can see how it's going to solve a problem, but their audience can't. And that passion just won't pay the bills. So that internal excitement goes without validating real, authentic demand from your audience. So how do you go about finding what your audience wants from you? Because I will say it time and time again, if you know what your audience wants, you will never be broke. So how do you go and find out what it is they need? So start with empathy. That means taking on the mindset of your customer, understanding what it is that's keeping them up at night. So yes, you can turn to ChatGPT, you can turn to social media, online reviews, even Google Trends to help you understand what people are searching for, what problems they're trying to solve. But if you want real money, you need to talk to real people. So you need to interview your audience to understand what it is that's keeping them up at night. What are they really struggling with on an emotional level? Because the offer that you want to build and come out with needs to not only solve a problem that your audience has, but it needs to solve a problem that is painful enough for them to pay for that problem to go away. It needs to be something that is so painful and so urgent that they will pay to have it solved. Okay, so the next issue that I see is called false positives. So a lot of times when businesses are launching a new offer, they will ask their own customer list for feedback. And yes, that can be helpful if the purpose of your new offer is retention or igniting the customers that you already have. But if your intention for offering a new offer is to acquire new customers, then that's not going to work for you. And here's why. Your customer list already has some degree of know, like, and trust. And that creates a brand halo. Don't take my word for it, look it up. That creates a brand halo where they already think highly of your product. They think highly of your brand. And so they're going to be your biggest cheerleaders, your biggest advocates for anything you launch next because they already trust you. So if you are looking to get new customers, here's what you're going to do instead. You're going to give them a blind test, which means they compare your offer with something that looks similarly in that same category and space, and they're not going to know which is which. And you're going to have them evaluate yours versus something that's already in the marketplace with a long history of performance that you can measure, and see how your offer compares. If it's the same, then you know that what you generated is going to be at least parity what's already in the market. If it's better, then you have the potential upside of having a stronger product out there. If it's not as good, then you know it's probably not going to be a sustainable product in the marketplace. But the key is to give them a head-to-head comparison of your product versus something that's already in the market to compare it to. One of these is water and one of these is vodka, and I have no idea which is which. I'm gonna save the take on this for a little bit later. But anyway, so you give them something that is head-to-head comparison of your product versus a competitor or something that's equivalent in the marketplace where you know how that has performed over time and you can benchmark your new offer comparatively. Now, I will also say that if your product is something that's meant to be enjoyed for a long time, then you want to create a test environment that matches that. So there is a famous test that happened between Pepsi and Coke, where people took one sip of each and they chose which one was their favorite. And it didn't match the sales performance because sodas are meant to be enjoyed more than one sip at a time. At least that's how I enjoy them. And it's meant to be part of someone's routine throughout their day and throughout their life. And so doing a head-to-head comparison off of one sip didn't make sense for that product. So consider that with your test design. The third issue that I see really commonly is the person with the highest pay grade has strong opinions on what campaign, what offer needs to come out next. And this can put the product team in a really tricky situation where they are trying to do as they're told, but maybe they secretly have doubts about it and they don't know how to communicate that. That's where research really shines. So what I do in that instance is I'll rely on interviews or surveys to get feedback from genuine, authentic customers that meet our target profile. But I also lean really heavily into actual behavior. So where I can see purchases by SKU type, for example, and how that trends over time to support the argument, or maybe to support the CEO or whoever is arguing for. I definitely rely on actual behavior more than surveys in that instance. And here's why. Human beings are not very good at saying what we will do in the future. Just look at the marriage rate as an example of that. We are not very good at predicting what we will do in the future. And that's just intrinsic to human being and human nature. And so as a researcher, I've learned that surveys will likely overestimate the positives. So people are more likely to say they're going to purchase in a survey versus what the actual sales data will show you. And as a researcher for over 20 years, I know this to be true. Hey, if you're getting value from this video and you're serious about launching a product that's actually going to resonate with your audience, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I regularly share strategies to help founders and product teams build campaigns and offers that avoid the most expensive mistakes. So if you want to stay ahead, make sure you're subscribed. We have now talked about the common issues that I see keeping products from being successful in the market. We started with making sure that you have product market fit. We talked about not relying too heavily on your internal customer list and how to combat some strong opinions on your team. The next issue that I see come up is skipping the go-to-market fit check. So it's not enough to have product market fit if your go-to-market strategy forgets all of those purchase drivers. So everywhere along the customer journey, from the first time they become aware of your brand to the moment where they become advocates for your brand, you need to have nudges in place that pushes them down the path to winning. So it means from the color of your call to action button, from the shape of your call to action button, the tone that is communicated in your ads, all need to tap into the emotional reasons behind why your audience would buy your product versus your competitors. So anywhere along that path that doesn't resonate with your audience is a potential to lose sales and a potential to lose money. So you want to make sure, like I said, all the way through that path, you are communicating in a way to get your specific audience ready to open their wallets. The next issue that I see all the time is businesses spending so much time perfecting their offer before they get customer feedback. You don't need to do that. In fact, testing your offer before you have it fully built out reduces waste, and it reduces risk that you're going to invest in something that's not going to have traction with the market. So on the most simplest form, I've seen $1 million businesses launch with one ad, one landing page, and one way to give purchases. And so with that, they can see that there is real market demand to have this problem solved. So like I said, you can do what's called fake door tests or pre-orders or wait lists to simulate real demand, and that will help you separate your looky-loos from people who are actually going to exchange value for your solution. Netflix is very famous for doing this. When they started, they did not have all of their back end perfect. No, they had people taking the order for the DVD, putting it in the mail to your address, and that's how they delivered. But in doing so, they were able to pressure test with real customer feedback what they needed to develop and what was probably not going to be a long-term solution for customers. So it doesn't need to be complicated and perfected before it resonates with your audience. So when you do a test like this, say you're doing a wait list or pre-orders, you want to look at sign-up rates, how many people are actually exchanging their contact details or exchanging payment information for your solution, and you want to look at cost of acquisition. If it is costing you more money to get each sign-up, then you want to adjust your pricing model, adjust your offer to balance that and make sure you have a sustainable offer for the long haul. So the last issue that we will talk about today is misreading the customer data. And this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. So I see a lot of times after the launch that people are looking only at sales data. And while sales data makes a lot of sense, it's not the only thing. And it takes a lot of experience to understand what all of these measurements mean and what are the implications for the business. So at a high level, let's talk about 3 different data types. So the first is explorative. So that includes social media listening. It includes reviews and trends to understand what is going on in the market. Maybe you don't have a hypothesis about how the campaign should be performing, but you just want to hear what is your customers' genuine feedback on social media, for example. That falls into the explorative phase. Then we have descriptive data. So that gets into your sales performance, your conversion rates, satisfaction, and net promoter scores. So all of those things are going to describe what is happening with your offer after it has launched. Are your customers liking it? Are they referring it to other people? Those are really good indicators that you will have success not only now, but in the future as your customers become really strong advocates for your offer. Speaking of the future, you also want to do what's called predictive analytics. So that is taking the descriptive analytics from today, your sales, maybe your current industry performance, and marrying it with leading indicators to determine how your offer is going to perform in the future. And some of those leading indicators could be who's in the White House. It could be regulations. It could be technology trends and breakthroughs that are happening or expected to happen in the short term, as well as economic factors. And even though those things are not necessarily in the control of any one business, they have a part to play in your future success nonetheless. And so you want to be measuring those things as you come out with new products to make sure that your offer can still meet market demand, not just today, but in the future. We're about building legacies here. So if you are tracking these things and integrating predictive analytics into your business, that's a good way to make sure that your offer is not only a good fit for the market today, but for the long haul. So now you know the biggest reasons that products fail and how to avoid them by reading your market correctly and testing for the right kind of signals. But applying this well takes more than one video. And YouTube knows that you've been watching this and it has recommended what is the best next step for you to take. So go ahead, click it, it's on the screen, and cheers to your success.